let's go to the Clippers. Oh, wait, forgot to talk about Russ. So there's rumors that Russ is going to get bought out by the Utah Jazz, so he's not even going to be suiting up for them. I think that's probably likely just given where they are in their scenario in the standings and their future of their roster. But could this be the last stop for Russell Westbrook? I mean, Billy Donovan reached out. Apparently the Bulls have interest. This man could be playing in China before we know it, man. Like, how many more stops can Russ have?
I don't think it'll get to that point, but you're right. I think it's a situation where we've seen a lot of great struggle, in terms of adjusting to the role that you may have excelled in for the prime of your career. It's not going to be there, at this point. Yeah. And I think in terms of Utah, he still hasn't decided what to do there. They're open to him staying if he wants to, but from reports that I've read, they've been clear about, there may be games where you don't play at all if you stick around, just because they want to look at the young guys. Chicago, I think if your goal is to contend for a championship, that would probably be a bad move, because I don't see that team really doing anything right now. I know some Clippers players have openly campaigned for Russ to join them, but I look at that roster. We'll probably talk about them in a minute here, but feels like there are too many cooks in that kitchen for him to kind of, get in there and make an impact. So I don't know what he's going to do. I'm interested to see, though.
Yeah, that's the struggle I have, is like there's this point of when, these all-star, all-NBA players, superstars hit this point where there's like, damn, I got to figure out a new role and how I'm going to fit into a new system. Carmelo Anthony went through it. Allen Iverson went through it. But some people are able to get to that. I don't know that Russ, I haven't seen it yet. I mean, I think he was definitely making a valiant effort for the Lakers to try to make it work. Yeah. It just didn't. So, I'm curious to see what he decides to do, what his future is. But what do you do from a fantasy perspective? Do you drop him now because he doesn't fit in your IL spot? Now he's just taking up dead weight. We're at the end of the season here. Maybe just hold him through the All-Star break, because maybe something happens after that. But like, what are you doing?
I think at this point, maybe hold him through the All-Star break, just see what news may come out. Obviously, the entire league is going to be in Salt Lake City, so there'll be opportunities for meetings and whatnot. So see what happens there. But yeah, I don't think, if you don't really hear anything from that point on, it's time to drop him, just because there's just way too much uncertainty there.
Right. You mentioned the Clippers. Let's talk about them. They no longer have John Wall or Reggie Jackson, both gone. They did acquire Bones Highland, which I thought was an interesting move for the future. Love that Ty Lue has an opportunity to kind of mold Bones Highland. Clearly, he wasn't getting along with leadership at the Denver Nuggets, so has another opportunity here. But I think that this is really, I don't know that we can. I think the first game was a pretty good indication. Terrence Mann is going to be playing point guard right now. Yeah. He is a must roster for me as well. I'd say I'd probably put him up there in the Josh Green territory. And he's only 15% rostered in Yahoo leagues. That is extremely low, considering that he's just lucked into 30 plus minutes, and he can do a little bit of everything in terms of scoring, rebounding, and assists. Won't be super high assists, but he can get 5. So curious what your thoughts on him is. And then also, kind of how are you expecting that Eric Gordon Highland fit to kind of play out?
Yeah, they moved Mann into that starting role a few weeks back. And that was kind of your first sign that John Wall and Reggie Jackson were going to be gone. It wasn't working out with either one of them. So I agree with you. He should be picked up in more leagues heading into the All-Star break. What I found interesting about Tuesday's win over the Warriors is that the lineup they had on the court to kind of close that thing out was Eric Gordon, Norman Powell, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Ivica Zubac. They obviously weren't out there the final 2.5 minutes because the job was done then. Right. But that was the 5 they went with to kind of put us away. So I don't know if we spoke about this in a previous podcast, but maybe they're looking for someone who can kind of just handle those primary playmaker responsibilities for, say, 15 to 20 minutes of the first 3 quarters. And then the fourth quarter, just hand the keys to Paul and Kawhi and say, all right, you guys take us home. Yeah, that didn't work against Milwaukee, as we saw a few weeks ago. But, you can't really argue against betting on Paul Kawhi Leonard to figure it out.
Yeah,
that's what I would say. But yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah, and how Eric Gordon kind of fits into that. I feel like he displayed playmaking abilities in his time in Houston. So I think that there is definitely some sharing amongst the starting lineup of those playmaking responsibilities. But I still think it's good that Man is at least getting the opportunity in the first 3 quarters to do something. And then he also has some chemistry with the bench unit too. But Norman Powell's been playing great. So definitely need to keep him on the court in crunch time for sure. And what about Mason Plumlee? RIP to his fantasy stock going to the Clippers. But what do you think that does for Zubac? Like, do you think that, I mean, so far it doesn't seem like it's been a huge impact to him. But I think over the course of time, I think we'll see probably a little bit more Mason Plumlee eating into those minutes.
I'm not too concerned. I think obviously Mason Plumlee, I think in terms of the rebounding and defending is slightly better than Isaiah Hartenstein. I think that's just the effect they're looking for with that move. Getting a big who can help out with some of the playmaking, since obviously they don't have a traditional point guard. Hartenstein was really good in that 2-man game. They give him the ball in the high post and he can pick some guys out. I think Plumlee can do a little bit of that, but I think the minute split will be fine for Zubac and what he brings you in terms of field goal percentage and rebounds and blocks. I think he's going to be fine fantasy-wise personally.
And are you dropping Mason Plumlee in deep competitive leagues? Yeah, I wouldn't either. Yeah, he gave you 8 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists off the bench in limited minutes. And now that he's hitting free throws, he doesn't really hurt you there.
Yeah.
He could be that backbench deep big that you have to kind of throw out there and get some sneaky assists for the big man spot.